Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and this is another probably overdue upgrades and modifications video for the Terminator build, the T800. Now, as this month we finished the first leg, it needs some attention. The toes are lovely, they're not a problem. They're a little bit loose, but that's fine. They're going to be sort of poseable when it comes to the putting on the base, so that's okay. The rest of it, again, is a little bit wobbly, but that's not a problem. The main problem with this part of the build is the elephant in the room. They're really rubbish. That's horrible. I get that they need to move because the ankle does have movement to it, so the pistons do need to go in and out a little bit, but they don't need to wobble around like that because that's just rubbish. So I shall be doing something with those, and then we'll be putting some weathering and bits onto the leg. Now the leg is completed, I can sort of do it all at once and get that done. So I'm going to be taking this partially apart so we can figure out what we're doing here. On these, I think I can just pop these off. So I'm going to get a tool and sort of lever them off. Actually, I don't need a tool, I need a flat piece of metal. So I'm going to use the back of a pair of tweezers and see. Now thinking about this is the right leg, so the outside of that is going to be the most visible piece. So I'm going to try this on the inside at the back and make sure it is going to work how I think it's going to work. Yeah, there we go. So that pops off of there quite easily, and then that comes out. Now these are obviously just a tube, they don't have the washer. If it had the washer, actually it wouldn't work because it's a massive inside hole there. What we need to do is figure out a way of sort of shrinking that hole down a little bit and elongating it. So I need an inner core that's only you know 2-3 centimeters long, that's going to give a bit of support to this. I do notice as well that the top of this is coming out a little bit, so I shall be gluing that back in place. Does this? Yeah, that all comes off, so that makes that a little bit easier to work with. So yeah, that's why it wobbles, is because there's nothing inside there to stop that wobbling. So that needs some attention. I'll think about that and show you what I'm going to do on that. On these are a little bit different. It's the same basic problem. Let's lever that off of there. There we go. It's the same basic problem in that it does have a washer, but the hole that it goes into is massive, and that obviously is just a huge hole there. You can see on that one that it's far too much slop there. So what I need to do is make the inner piece of this more this size, so I can fit something to around there into there and stop that from happening. So basically it's a little bit of packing. I'll get some supplies ready and see what's going to work, and come back to you when I'm ready. Right, now for the other pistons in the arms, or no, it was the hips that we were doing, wasn't it? I did use a tube from a paintbrush, which is just plastic. It's just conveniently tube shaped, but this is not going to work for this because it's far too big. So yeah, it won't fit into either bits that I need it fit into, and even if it did fit, it would still slop around to the same degree. So that was my first go-to, but isn't going to work in this instance. But I shall keep that. Always keep bits like that because you never know when you're going to use them. What I have got is actually the protective cover from an old paintbrush. Now that is actually a pretty good fit for that, which is the piece from this. Now it doesn't actually fit through that because it's too good a fit. So what I need to do is, actually I've got a couple of options for this. What I can do is put it on the inside of that and basically glue it to the end. That's not ideal. What I might do is basically just open that hole very slightly so that will fit in there flush around the outside of here. Yeah, I also plan on using it for this as well, so obviously I haven't got lots to go around, so I might just use this for these pieces and then worry about the other one in a moment, because there's two of these to do, which are, let's see, that one on there, that's the worst offender anyway. So that does actually won't fit through there because of the end piece. But if I take that off, now nice thing about a lot of these builds being proper builds with screws and things, you can take them apart again if you need to. So that is a nice fit on there, although that is still loose in there. What I'm planning on doing is cutting some of this off. Now I can actually get away with, if I'm going to be doing 2 of these, if I just cut that in half, then that gives me quite a long part to play around with. Actually no, I'm going to cut it into thirds. I'm going to try and get it to work for that as well. I'll worry about the other leg when the other leg turns up. So apart from having a rough end there, which I'll just get rid of now. There we go, get rid of that bit. Rough thirds, we're going to be talking about there. Don't want that to ping off. And then that one in half about there. So what I'm going to do, I've got that one ready. That's going to go on there. Now from this, I know I've got to put the other end on there. Actually, I'll do that while I'm here anyway. It doesn't make any difference. I don't need to take it back off again. So I can tighten that back on there. Then I haven't got any loose bits to worry about floating around or getting lost. So that's going to go in there. At the moment it obviously is still sloppy. That's going to attach down there. Now there's only a little bit of movement to this, so I've got the vague sort of idea as to whereabouts that's going to have to be. Is about there. So if I can get that there, what I want to do is glue the outside of this to the inside of that. So it won't be central, but it will be not flopping around all over the place. So all I need to do is add a bit of super glue. I'm using the Gorilla super glue because it's quite convenient. It's quite thick, so it takes a little while for it to dribble out, but it also dries fairly quickly. So let me get some of this out. I won't film all this. I'll get the glue out and put it inside there and we'll see how it looks. Right, while I'm waiting for that to dry to make sure it does work, I'm going to jump ahead with this bit. Now this is again going to end up being the same sort of thing, but I do really need that. Right, the end comes off of that, which makes any attachment easier because I can just glue that to there. And then if that's glued in a position, then it can't wobble about as much as it does. So what I really need to do is get that glued on there like that, so the piston will still go through it. So basically that just be glued into the middle of there. So the easiest way of doing that, I think, is to fit it like that, get some glue around the end here and put that in there. Now I was thinking hot glue might do it, but it also might cause problems with the plastic. It probably won't, but might. So I'm going to stick with the Gorilla Glue with this again. Now I've used it, it should come out a little bit easier. So I'm going to, he says a little bit easier, not that much easier, there we go. I'm going to get a blob of this all the way around the outside of that tube. And then slide that tube where I need it to be on there. So if I can get that to stick like that, that should be the answer to my problem. So I shall once again leave this to dry while I come back and check the other bit. Before I leave this alone, I've got a quick tip. I've just used some blue tack around the edge there to hold that in place while the glue dries. So by doing that, I can check to make sure that it is pointing in the right direction. If I turn that, then that doesn't actually rotate one way or the other. So that seems to be just about right. I'm going to move that again just to make sure that it's not catching on anything. And then I can actually remove that completely and let that dry. Like that. Now with this, it's not really enough surface area to get that to stay where it should be. So what I'm actually going to do is use some blue tack and just got a little sort of sausage of it, little tube that I am going to put around the inside there. Now you could use something more permanent if you've got, you know, modelling clay or something like that, but basically I know blue tack eventually goes hard, but yeah, it's more about just supporting it, especially making sure that that glue dries rather than being a solid blob. What I am going to do is run some glue around the top of that as well. So I'm basically using the blue tack as a bridge, a little solid medium for this to sit around. You can see it moving around as I'm doing this, but once that glue dries, that should give me a much better, happier, more solid inside tube for that to fit into. So I'll leave that, as it's a big thick blob of glue, it's going to take a while to dry. What I have actually done as well, while I put that to one side, I've glued the top piece onto the tube, so that's not going to come loose anymore. I will probably glue that back in there as well when I know that it's going to be okay. So moving onwards, I have done these. Now you can see that it's not in the centre because it's obviously over to one side, but it stops it wobbling. So if I connect that back up to there like that, you can see it's eliminated, or virtually eliminated, the wobble from there. Now you may want to correct it and space it and basically do what I've done on there to fit it into the centre rather than to one edge, but it's that far off that at the bottom of the foot in use it's not going to matter which way round it is. Even turning that, it moves it a bit from one side to the other, but not enough that I'm worried about it. If you're worried about it, then by all means correct it, but for using what I've got on hand, just to make it better than it was, as ever, better than it was is my my mantra. That one isn't quite dry yet, so I'll leave that connected up, and that will set as well. So I'll leave that to set, pop that back in there. We'll see how it looks when I get ready to do the weathering. So that's the tube secured in there, so there's very little wobble to go for in there. I shall be gluing that into the corresponding piston, because although this end was a bit better, it's still not quite secure. So let's get that on there, glue that into place just like the other end. There we go, and then that should fit through there with very little wobble. Let's get the glue tightened up and out of the way. That piston fits onto there like it used to, and then we have the three of them as a much reduced sloppiness, and when it's just posed normally, they're not going to wobble around at all, and they're going to look much better than they did to begin with. Still some seam lines on those, but being the plastic bits, not a lot I can do, so I think it's just going to be a case of arranging them so that they're out of the way from normal viewing. So the pistons move as and when the ankle is rotated just a little bit, which is exactly what we needed. A little bit of glue overspill on that, that'll wipe off, not a problem. So that's that. Now I'm going to leave this to make sure that all the glue that I've just put in and things like that is properly dry, and then I'll come back and do some weathering with it. So I shall see you soon for the painting. Well, with all of the modifications done to this, all I need left is the tidying up, the weathering. I'm going to be using Citadel's Nuln Oil again because it's the easiest way of doing it. Now basically it all just looks too nice and shiny at the moment, so as I did with the other parts of this build, I'm just going to get a big brush Going to get a massive Nuln Oil on that brush, and I'm just going to sort of fill in the recesses. Now you can see some recesses are obviously more apparent than others already, but just by covering, I'd say most of this really, might need to go back and give it another coat. Not being particularly tidy or nice, and then giving it a wipe down, again not being accurate in any way, just to remove a lot of the excess and leave bits of it sitting in the recesses there. Makes it look like it's a bit old, bit worn, bit oily. Obviously not going to do the interior pieces here, but I'm just going to give that a couple of coats there and thereabouts, and then we'll see what it looks like afterwards. Now some of this staining comes up and looks worse than you would like it to. Basically just need to clean it up a bit more in some places than others as well. It's all just creating the appearance of age and wear, where dust and dirt and mud grime would get into some places and get into some others. Conveniently, when you try and wipe it away, you'll wipe it away from the places that it would get wiped away from more easily than other places. So it makes it look old and worn, which is what we're going for. I'm going to add that to the rest of the bottom of the pivot bits as well, and we'll see how it looks. So that is about what I was aiming for. Might add some more when it's all assembled and, you know, all as one piece so you can see it all together. But for now, that will do. That's got, I say, it looks a bit more used, a bit more worn. I've deliberately not gone heavily on the pistons themselves because I figure they're going to be moving in and out, so they'll be cleaning themselves, as it were. But some of the external bits and grooves, yeah, that'll do. So that will be it for this upgrade and modifications video. I'll be back for more with other bits soon, here and there. The other, like some of this needs cleaning up, but I'll be doing that next month. So thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying and building along. Why won't that stay there? Go over there. No, not there. Back. Go on. Stay there. Okay, that don't want to stay there. So yes, I shall see you soon for more of the same and different. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Bye bye.